Welcome back to It's a Miracle. There may be nothing more traumatic to a parent than the loss of a child, and most parents would give almost anything to have just one last contact with that child. For one grieving father in Massachusetts, that kind of communication actually came true in a most miraculous way. During his tour of duty in Vietnam, Army medic Nick Tassoni saw his share of pain and suffering, and the images of death and despair followed him home. Like other returning soldiers, Nick tried to forget the horrors of war, but he had been forever changed. Still, he and his wife started a family, and then in 1973, death and despair touched his life once again. His 7-year-old daughter, Dottie Marie, was struck down and killed by a speeding car. Her death would destroy his faith, his marriage, and leave him a lonely and bitter man. But Nick found a way back to life in a most unlikely place, a mental institution.
No! No!
It was here, working as a supervisor, that Nick learned he had something left to give.
We'll take care of this.
I had the opportunity to help so many people get out of the hospital. I worked with all the hard patients because I just knew I had that gift.
Well, let me help.
I could get them out of there if I could work with them. And I got so many different rewards from these people just leaving the hospital and saying thank you.
You're gonna be fine.
As Nick's heart opened to his patients, love found its way in. And in February of 1992, he married Karen Weber.
I'm pleased to pronounce you.
Hey.
His youngest son from his first marriage, Ted, was their biggest supporter, and soon he moved into their home. Nick had a family once again.
Ted was my best friend. He was everything. We did everything together.
Ted was compassionate towards other people, and he was always willing to give a hand or do anything for anybody at a moment's notice.
And then on June 16th, 1992, the unthinkable happened. Ted Tassoni was involved in a head-on collision. His entire family rushed to UMass Medical Center, where he was being operated on for head injuries.
They said the surgery is excellent. He's 95%, no problem at all. We just have to wait to see how he comes out for the 24-hour period. At 11 o'clock, you can go upstairs into his room and talk with him.
But talking wasn't possible. Ted was being respirated through a tube in his throat.
How's he doing?
BP 100/70.
Okay. You guys want to come in?
Hey, Teddy.
Got some visitors, Teddy.
How you doing, bud? Hey.
I told him to squeeze my hand if it was yes and squeeze my hand twice if it was no. He was very alert.
He's doing good. His pulse is around.
So the doctor says, here's what we're going to do, Ted. We're going to sedate you now, and your father and mother will stay here. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, they'll be here.
Everything's gonna be fine. We'll be here. You wake up, we're here, buddy, okay? I promise you, man. Promise.
I promised Ted everything would be fine, and he was going to be great. So I never lied to Ted. So my word was his bond.
Later that night, Nick and Karen were trying to get some rest in a nearby room when they received some devastating news.
Hello. Oh, hello, doctor.
A few hours later, they called us to let us know that Ted's brain was swelling.
Oh, my God.
The brain stem wasn't getting any oxygen, and no blood supply was coming through, and his brain was swelling out of control.
Talk to me, Teddy. Come on, buddy. Come on.
And then at 4 o'clock, they said that it was about 98% brain dead, and that they didn't expect Ted to live too much longer. If they continued with the medication that they were giving him to keep the brain functioning, it would have damaged the other organs. The other 3 kids and his ex-wife said, I think we should stop the medication in order to save the organs, because we were going to donate his organs. The doctor was there, and he says, you have to decide now.
And I says, no, I don't want to stop the medication.
The doctor had told him that if he had lived, that he would be a vegetable, and they were going on the doctor's word.
And so, reluctantly, Nick signed the forms to discontinue life support.
then we were all allowed to see Ted, to tell him whatever you want to tell him before you left him, because after that, they were going to stop the medication and they were going to operate to take the organs. So once you walked out of that room, that was it. That was the last time you got to see him.
I says, Ted, I tried to let him keep you. I tried to let you keep him on the medication, but they voted against it. I says, I love you, and I'm sorry that I told you you was going to live and you died.
Ted Tassoni did not die in vain. His donated organs gave life to 6 other people. But that wasn't enough to console Ted's father.
Nick literally was paralyzed with grief from the death of his son. In fact, he couldn't work. He would just sit on the couch every morning in his bathrobe when I left for work. And when I came home in the afternoon, he would still be sitting there. And this went on for 10 months.
Desperate and frustrated, Karen suggested that Nick join a prayer group. It was here that he would meet Father Paco, a man all too familiar with loss of loved ones.
He gave me a little rundown of his life, how he lost his mother and father and sister in a car accident.
I was devastated when my parents died. In spite of being a priest, I was grieving, and he was grieving because he had lost 2 children. I said, Nick, you lost a son, and I lost my father and mother. I could be your son, and you could take the place of my father. And he agreed, and I thought it was a great idea.
Remember I said ladies first.
Father Paco and the prayer group gave Nick the courage to return to work, but on one condition, that he wouldn't have to take any of his patients to UMass.
Michael, watch your head.
It was always my job to take patients to UMass for physical treatments.
There you go. June, do me a favor. I can't go, okay?
Well, after my son died at UMass, I didn't want to go there anymore. I just refused to go. I says, I just can't go there. I'm not ready to deal with this.
He continued to stand firm until 4 years later when he received an unexpected call.
One day, telephone rang.
Yeah.
And this lady says, listen, I want to pray for a girl at UMass. She was in a very serious car accident. I don't expect her to live.
Right. Okay. UMass. Mm-hmm. All right, Suzanne. Thank you.
And Nick said to me, I just have a feeling that I need to go to UMass and pray over this girl.
And so Nick contacted Father Paco, and together they drove to the hospital that Nick had vowed to never enter again.
And we were walking together, and I knew that this was a very emotional thing for him.
Father Paco says, let's go to the desk and find out where this girl is. I says, never mind, I know right where she is. So we went into the elevator, and it went up to the 4th floor.
When we got off the elevator, he said to me, this is the same floor where I was with my family when Ted died.
It was really like a deja vu. But you know, I didn't really stop to think of everything that went through with Ted. I just knew that when we get out of the elevator and I put my foot on that floor, I had the cold sweats. But I knew that I had to do this.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Okay.
The woman could be in any room on the floor, but Nick was pulled toward one in particular.
We started to walk to the room, and he said, this is the same room where Ted died.
Hi, Father Paco.
The only thing you could see was her eyes and her lips. And she says,
Are you Nick?
Yeah, I'm Nick.
I have a message for you.
When his son Teddy died at UMass Hospital in 1992, Nick Tassoni vowed never to return. But 4 years later, he was back in its halls, mysteriously driven to visit a woman who, like his son, had been involved in a major car accident and who'd been admitted to the same room where his son had died. When he entered that room, he was in for the shock of his life.
I have a message for you.
What is that?
I went to a wonderful place. I know I wasn't here.
And she said that she had actually died during the early hours of the accident.
It happened while medical personnel were frantically trying to save her life.
Back up. Okay,
Oh my
she's in
God,
fine
please.
defib. We need to shock at 200.
Mom, please open your eyes.
200. Clear, everybody clear.
All of a sudden, I saw my own self, and I saw them work in my body. And I'm talking to them, and I'm saying, please, don't worry about me. I'm fine.
The next thing Thais Moraes remembered was being in a different world.
It was unbelievable. It was so beautiful.
And she wasn't alone.
It's all kinds of angels, but they all dress like the same. Everybody's in white. All of a sudden, you know, I heard a voice of an angel.
Thais, if you decide to go back, tell my father I'm fine. Tell him not to worry.
And then all of a sudden, on the other room, I could see my whole family.
I need you.
I saw my oldest daughter crying. And I'm trying to say to her, I said, Sandra, please. I said, Mommy's okay.
Please stay with us, Tom.
She said, I can't believe you're gonna die. I can't believe you're gonna leave us. Please come back.
And with that, Thais began to return to her body.
Okay, she's stable.
Mom.
I know the moment I made my decision, I know it was gonna be better. I know nothing was gonna be wrong with me. I had all that faith, but I always did, but this time it was 100 times more faith. I saw my body going back to my body. And then all of a sudden, a man is standing in my door.
Are you Nick?
Yeah, I'm Nick.
I have a message for you.
I says, Nick, your son is in heaven.
And he said, tell my father that I am fine. You can let go, Nick. He's in a good place. He loves you.
And as she's telling us all this story, Nick and I are looking at each other. Nick is crying. So I got close to her and I was trying to comfort her as much as I could. But she was the one who comforted us.
It was so beautiful, you know? And it was just the greatest feeling in the world.
From that moment on, Nick was able to, I would say, be totally healed from that, to let go of the pain, the frustration. He's not agonizing anymore about that. He's happy to know that his son is with God.
Eventually, Nick introduced his wife to the woman who changed his life.
He said, I need to take you to meet this girl because you need to hear the story. He said, it's unbelievable.
She says, Thais, thank you because Nick is a different person. You don't know what I went through with him when he lost his son. So I know my work was done.
And the message she delivered healed Nick Tassoni's broken heart.
Ted was telling me, you live for the living and not for the dead. I'm all right, Dad. Go out and enjoy your life, and I'm happy. And thank you for being a good father. That's what I read out of it. Thank you for being who you are.